think it's dawned on me that you ain't coming back. I've lost my chance to see us find our way back. And in the end, amidst these trying times, I'll always try to find you. I'll allow you to find the truth that you hold back. So stay with me. You know that I'll follow. I can't breathe. Together we'll fall apart. Stay here right in my arms, and we'll start again. So stay. Dramatically talk to me, and it's so funny, you're all I wanted, and I can't talk, want you out of my life, so say none. I'll wait for days if you ain't one, I'll say none. So stay with me, you know that I'll follow. I can't breathe, together we'll fall apart. Stay here right in my start again, so stay with me. Together we'll fall apart. Together we'll fall apart. Start again, so stay with me. Together we'll fall apart.
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Warning: the following video contains flashing imagery that may cause discomfort and/or seizures for those with photosensitive epilepsy. Viewer discretion is advised.
Tell me somebody how long he will be on my mind. You will be on my mind.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening indeed, and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to another round of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. We're into the second half of the season now, and it is very, very exciting to be back already after what was a completely thrilling round at Spa-Francorchamps only a week ago. My name is Chaz Draycott, and I'm delighted to have alongside me in the commentary box once again the wonderful Ed May. Ed, we were treated to an absolute barnstormer at Spa, and to be honest, a lot of the drivers expect a bit more of the same here.
Yeah, absolutely. Simon Povey with one big step towards the top of the standings to try and regain his hand on the championship title. Reigning champion, of course, from season 1 with an amazing performance. That is 2 on the bounce now for Simon Povey. He is the man on form and certainly one to watch going into this, the 6th round, the halfway point pretty much, of the SM GT4 Challenge.
It is indeed, and this is how the championship points stand at the halfway point. As you see, only 14 points between the top 3 in the championship at the moment. And comparing that to last season, there was 59 points between first and second last season. Right now, the top 3 are covered by... the top 5, are covered by... God, I can't even do the maths there. It's, 44 points? And last season, the top 5 were covered by 101 points. So definitely the new point system is working wonders. Callum Brandt is second to Lewis Ward at the moment. Simon Povey 1 point back in third, but then look how close it is. Mike Horder only 5 points clear of Rob Sharp. He's 4 points clear of Christopher Smith, 2 points clear of Matthias Tem, 14 points clear of Ben Gregory, but then it's 3 points, 2 points, 4 points, 1 point, 3 points, 2 points. Can't even do the maths, but it is so close. And even in the teams championship as well, Ed, it's RD Simsport from Apex Racing Academy by just 6 points.
I know, there's so much to try and think about and try and uncover. I mean, Callum Brandt has been really good the past couple of rounds. Christopher Smith has finally kept his nose out of trouble, or near enough out of trouble, to start getting some good points as well for his team. So those two are going to be just going completely hammer and tongs, I think, both in terms of the drivers and as well the team's championship all the way through. Because let's not forget, Callum Brandt, he's certainly way up there in the championship standings. He's yet to win a race, though, and you've got to think, well, judging by this time in practice, he's got to be a driver that's favourite for pole position, nearly 4 tenths faster than Lewis Ward.
Yeah, he's doing an absolutely smashing job, is Callum Brandt. Fastest at the moment. Rob Sharp up there in 4th position as well. We look now at Christopher Smith, who says that he's updated his livery for the remainder of, well, at least this round. It seems to have hearts and kisses all over it. It says... oh, it's a protest saying no race on the 14th of February because we have adjusted the calendar in this championship to basically be pushed back a week after the issues that we had with iRacing's Week 13. And the majority have voted that we are going to race on the 14th of February, which, of course, is Valentine's Day. Now, a number of us don't really mind about Valentine's Day. Me and Beth don't really celebrate it, to be honest with you. We don't sort of want to buy into it. But of course, some of these drivers are out there. They have partners, and they might want to spend it with them. So they feel like there might be a slightly unfair advantage if they, well, don't want to end up in the doghouse that night, basically. And Christopher Smith here with a very interesting protest, at least, running that on the car. I like that. It's quite good fun, though, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, it's all in good jest, I'm certain. It was obviously, like you mentioned, voted for by the drivers, so everyone was able to have a chance to have their say, but like you mentioned, the majority went in favour of racing on the 14th, and I mean, I cannot wait until we can really get to the business end of the championship. I think, to be fair, we're already into it now, into the final 5 rounds. This being, like you say, round 6 of 10. And Simon Povey has been a real star, to be fair to him, of this championship and the last season as well. But I don't know, maybe his match, at least in terms of the times being set at the moment, by Callum Brandt, he is absolutely flying around here.
Yeah, he's doing a good job once again, though, is Callum. And this is the thing, he's probably been one of, if not the most consistent driver this season when it comes to pace, because he's always up there and he's always fighting. If not, it's Lewis Ward. And I think he's going to be very interesting to watch again tonight. So is this man, Matthias Tem. He's really not had the rub of the green, despite how much green's on the car so far this season. He's going to be hoping for a much stronger result. He currently finds himself 7th in the championship, only 2 points behind Christopher Smith, but he's not had an easy run of it so far. In the first round he got 18 points, and then he's had 3 finishes since then that have scored him 14 points. But of course, round 3 at Daytona, he really did not have a strong round at all. You get 25 points for winning the race, 22 for second place, then 20, 18, 16, 14. So he's had a couple of 6th place finishes so far that really haven't favoured him. Rob Sutherland in the YouTube chat saying, keep Chris's wife's name out of your mouth. I like that. I absolutely love that. But this is the thing. It's all about having good banter out here. And, you know, everyone has... There's just a really good friendly feel about this championship, isn't there, Ed? And there has been since the start of Season 1.
Yeah, and it's a rare treat, it's fair to say, in sim racing. A lot of people, obviously, they want to win. They take it very seriously. But here, we still have the drivers that really do want to win. They take the racing really seriously. But all of that gets left on the circuit. It doesn't infect its way into the Discord. And that is something that I've absolutely loved about this whole community from day one. And while I do always look forward to seeing what's next in the pipeline, I know there are a few special events planned later on in the year here at SRM. So fingers crossed we'd be able to give you more info on that maybe at the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely will. We'll certainly try. And to be honest with you, there's plans. There's definite plans, that's for sure. But we just need to wait and see what the right timings will be for said plans as well. We look here at Tom Weston, who we've got back on our grid tonight for Team Sim Racing Community. Good to have him back in the championship after a week off for Spa. We've got Peter Brill as well, currently at the bottom of the pile, unfortunately, for B. Brill, but he's cracking on and he's still pushing, is Peter. He never gives up. It's good to have him back on the grid. We've got Fausto Pinto currently running in 17th and into the back of John Roberts, unfortunately. A little bit of a miscommunication there on the exit. Not many drivers, though, inside the top 10. Only 2 of them, in fact, that are currently out on track at the moment, Ed. They know that the session's coming to a close shortly and qualifying is about to begin.
Yeah, 100%. You can see they're all getting their last few moments of practice in under the belt, and obviously, like you say, getting ready for qualifying. Not the longest qualifying session in the world, so any amount of practice you can get will really benefit you, and mainly just about getting out there right away. There are some drivers that do like to leave it late. I know the car that we've just seen going out of the arena section there, or coming into the arena section, I think Matthias Tem likes to leave it until the last possible moment, basically get the car in the best shape, which is probably the best way to try and challenge for pole position. And I was so successful at the first round of the championship, but leaves you open to a little bit of a, well, feast or famine sort of situation where you either get your lap time perfectly nailed or you catch a bit of traffic, maybe everyone's still let you widen and validate your lap time, and you're stuck with nothing.
Yeah, that's it. You have to be very careful when you sort of take those risks, really. You can't sort of push the boundaries too much with it. Otherwise, you do end up in quite the sticky situation. So we're going to get all the drivers flying out of the pit lane any moment now. We'll take a lovely look here at the camera that's clearly not positioned in the right place. But we'll drag that. Oh, good Lord. That's a bit further than I was hoping to drag it. Sorry, you're going to see this literally happening live. But there you go. We'll get a view of the pit lane. That's hopefully for later on in the race as well, so we can see exactly where the drivers all line up when they do go head-to-head with the pit stop strategies coming into play. You can hear the lovely noise of all of these GT4 cars making their way now out of the pit lane. And we'll get the times showing up at the bottom of the screen in just a moment. But everyone making their way out on track. This is Paul Gosling in the BMW. We've got Martin Pearson in the chat as well. Pederkin in the Twitch chat. Good to see you. Apparently someone wants to offer me promotion of my channel, including bots. No, thank you. Over on Twitch. We don't want bots here. We're not about that.
Got Peter Mackay's fan club rocking up either.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Peter Mackay's fan club seems to have died down, you know. I've not seen that happen on any streams in ages. So maybe it's actually been nipped in the bud finally.
They're in hibernation. It's winter time. They'll emerge as soon as it gets to the time where Peter's out and about as well more with his real life motorsport. I'm certain they'll start to appear in greater numbers.
Well, I hope they don't, in a way. I really hope they don't. Well,
Peter hopes they do.
Yeah, Peter loves his fan club. That's what it's all about. You've got to have fans as a commentator. It's just what happens. So Apex Racing Academy, they're up against RD Simsport in the Teams Championship. Look at this. They're really working this out now. They're making sure they've got as much clean track as possible. If we show you where they are in comparison to everyone else, and Simon Povey's with them as well, actually, they have got a lot of clean track around them. And that's, to be fair, probably the best thing they could do right now. The man at the very front of it, though, is the man that usually leads the qualifying sessions when it comes to the initial train. It's Mike Horder who is pushing on at this point. He's now the lead Aston Martin of the field. And once again, he's going to be the first guy to put a time on the board. You can see the sector times at the bottom. When it goes purple, of course, they have set the fastest out of everybody. When it's green, it's a personal best. And when it's white, there is no improvement at all. And the grey bit is, of course, filling out the current section that they're in. So, any predictions though, Ed? Because I've heard that BMW is an absolute rocket in a straight line down there. Dan McCauley was speaking to me earlier about the speed of it, and he said some of them can get a poor run out of turn 2 and still catch up and then use the slipstream down that back straight, down the Parabolica.
Yeah, truth be told as well, you can see here Christopher Smith, his teammate, Callum Brandt, is in another car that's really quick in a straight line. That Mercedes is... I think probably the second fastest car in terms of top end. It accelerates beautifully, which is what you need out of these slow corners here. That's going to really benefit him, and I think he's one to watch as well for not just pole position but also potentially the race victory, because we know how good that car is when it gets into those final 20 minutes. It comes alive, and especially through this section, that is really going to help him out and then some.
It absolutely is. As long as he can look after the tyres and just manage the car over the course of the race, really nurse it home, it's going to be very exciting to see what he can do around here in that machine. Here comes Mike Horder. Then, big clip over the curb, and he goes very wide. And it's going to be Ben Gregory that goes through and sets the first valid lap time. And Mike's gone even to the extent of putting the car in the wall. Christopher Smith does indeed go fastest for RD Simsport, 1:46.2. He's gone 4 tenths quicker than Ben Gregory. That's unbelievable. Rob Sutherland does a purple sector 3 at the end of his lap as well in the Aston Martin. RD Simsport have sorted something out. Jacob Money's gone 6th. John Roberts goes 7th. Tom Weston is there. And Matthias Tem goes fastest by 52 thousandths of a second. 3 purple sectors on his lap. Sorry, 3 purple sectors on Callum Brandt's lap. Apologies. But Callum's lap does not count. He must have had an incident point somewhere. So unfortunately for him, it doesn't put him anywhere in the order. Drew Fletcher back on our screens tonight for SRM Racing Team B. He's just put a lap in, so too is his teammate Ryan Penny. They're a number of seconds off the pace at the moment, gearing up for another go. Heinz Mayer and Kim Such both pop up on there. Where's Simon Povey? He's all on his own about 66% of the way around the lap. Rob Sharp's about to cross the line, so watch out for him popping up the order on the left, because Rob is very fast, as we know, although it doesn't seem to be completing a valid lap time. The 2 Apex cars are now coming around the final corner. This is Dan McCauley. Well, not quite into the final corner, apologies. But he's trying to help his teammate Lewis Ward get right up there for the championship fight. Dan knows that he wants to play the team game here. He's been racing in the Porsche Carrera Cup GB as well as Dan. He's really good at the hands of the Porsche. And there you go, look at that. That is teamwork indeed. Lewis Ward goes fastest, 3 tenths quicker than Dan McCauley. And the two of them are half a second quicker than Matthias Tem. That is beautiful work by Apex Racing Academy. And that's exactly why it's important to work with your teammates in these sessions, Ed, especially when they're shorter than they used to be, and get those times on that board. Fantastic behaviour. Paul Goffin goes 3rd fastest. What a time that is by Paul. Very well done.
That is really good, and he's getting a double helping of slipstream, or at least had a double helping of slipstream on that last lap, which has really helped him out. There's Ben Gregory, I believe, getting out of the way of Christopher Smith and slotting in behind to hopefully get, well, his own back potentially in terms of slipstream. Matthias Tem, their second time, not quite able to improve as they up onto the second row of the grid. And You know how good he can do at the starts of races. It's all about just trying to make sure he stays out of trouble, because he's had the worst luck, I think, out of anybody on this grid. I think all of a sudden Christopher Smith is, I don't know what he's done, but he's certainly passed something over to Mydas in terms of the rotten luck he's been having this season.
100%. We've got a few drivers that still put times in. Simon Povey's gone 6th fastest and is now on a new outlap. Rob Sharp crosses the line, and the Orris Sapphire Simsport car goes 6th. Good time by Rob. Puts Simon Povey down into 7th. His teammate Jacob Money at the moment is just on the outer fringes of the top 10. Fausto Pinto's in 13th as well. He's going quite well in that Mercedes. He's actually the highest placed Mercedes at the moment. As Callum Brandt, Ralph Mayer and Mike Horder all have not put valid times on the board yet. But it's very close once again. I mean, we've got the top 8 separated by a second. And to be fair, when you consider that 3rd place is over half a second off the current pole time, that just shows you how close it really is. Dan McCauley goes 2nd fastest still, I should say. Just improves his lap time. Christopher Smith's done some personal bests around here. This is looking very feisty indeed from the BMW. It's great to see the BMW competitive again, because it really is an unlikely lump of a GT car. Across the line goes Chris. 0.6 of a second improves and becomes 0.46 of a second, so he goes 3rd fastest. Jacob Money moves up to 7th to line up with his teammate Rob Sharp. Both the Spontex cars sort of dropping down now. They're together. Gary Toll and Simon Povey actually 8th and 9th on the grid as things stand. They're actually together on track as well. Is that Simon jumping out of the way? It was. Simon's decided to quit that lap. Fausto Pinto goes into the top 10 there, Ed. That's a really good lap from Fausto.
Callum Brandt as well improves, and look how close he is to pole position. Yeah, that was a really good lap time there by the Mercedes. I said it was going to be quick, and he's maybe not got the helping of a teammate, but he certainly had the helping of Mydas Simulations on that last lap.
Yeah, he's certainly nearly making contact there with Mydas, but Callum, well, he's doing a fantastic job. Very, very fantastic job indeed. This is the thing with the Teams Championship. 2 Apex Racing Academy cars, 1st and 3rd. RD Simsport, 2nd and 4th, or they were, until Rob Sharp pokes his nose in up there as well. We've got a purple sector coming in from Lewis Ward in Sector 2. Dan McCauley throws the car off the road to get out of the way of his teammate. You can hear it bash into the barrier there. It made a horrible noise, but that's ultimate commitment there from Dan McCauley. Let's see what Lewis Ward can do. He was so quick last season when he showed up to a couple of rounds, and it's been wonderful to see him give this full championship a go. Across the line he goes. Is it another improvement? No improvement in the final sector, but that purple middle sector might help him out, and it does. 1:45.461, and that is a corking lap, that is, by Lewis Ward. Puts him a couple of hundredths ahead, further ahead, I should say, of Callum Brandt. And we still have drivers with no time on the board. Ralph Mayer in the Mercedes is one of them. Mike Horder, the first car that we saw going around the circuit in the Aston Martin, is the other here, Ed, and it just shows you being at the front of the queue isn't always the best.
Yeah, it shows you how unforgiving as well these short qualifying sessions are. For just, if you make mistakes, you're really going to get punished for it. Obviously, it's not the be-all and end-all. You can go back out onto the circuit and try again. But again, it puts you in such a perilous position. Let's have a look now at what Callum Brandt's able to do when he crosses the line. Goes on to pole position, and not by a little bit either. That is a really strong lap time by Callum Brandt. Oh my word, that is a statement and a half that he is going to be going for pole position.
Absolutely. There's only one race this season where Callum hasn't been on the podium as well, and that was the 4th round of the championship at Silverstone as well. So he's going to be certainly looking for that first win. He's had 3 second places, 3 times the bridesmaid, and he's had a 3rd place finish as well. Callum will definitely be hoping for that first win here, and he's putting himself in a great situation to be able to attack for it. We've got Lewis Ward 2nd, Dan McCauley 3rd, then Rob Sharp, Orris Sapphire Simsport, then Christopher Smith, Paul Goffin up there in 6th doing well, Mydas Simulations 7th, Ben Gregory 8th, Jacob Money 9th, and Gary Toll is currently in 10th position for Spontex CDM Esports. Simon Povey, reigning champion, currently down in 12th. Mike Horder has put a time on the board, but it's only 17th fastest, so even for those that are getting times on the board here, Ed, it's a very topsy-turvy session for a few.
Yeah, you've got to worry if you're a fan of Spontex CDM Esports and Simon Povey. It's not at all where you're expecting to be. 1.2 seconds off the pace is... I don't think I've ever thought that would be possible for Simon, but at the moment that seems to be the case. Let's have a look where he is out on circuit now. Just coming towards the final sector. The sector times have been not exactly amazing, but again as well, he has been on a few outlaps and might be just trying to struggle to get the temperature into those tyres. But we know what he's like. He does leave it till the very last moment when he sets his lap times. And there's Callum Brandt with another lap time. I think another one that actually still would have been good enough for pole position.
Yeah, 1:45.39 for Callum Brandt. And Lewis Ward's best time is a 1:45.46. So, yeah, really strong stuff. And as rightly pointed out by James Holman, we've got all 5 manufacturers inside the top 7 here. So Hockenheim has become a leveller as Simon Povey splits the 2 Apex Racing Academy cars. 3rd fastest that. Didn't look like it was going to be that much of a groundbreaking lap by Simon, but he really made it work as, whoa, Rob Sharp there having a big old slide out of the final corner.
Now I think as well, we're going to see a little bit more pace from Simon. He's got a lap time now that sees him up inside that top 5. I think that was less of, like we said, it didn't look like a really quick lap. That was more of like a sort of sighting lap, as we say, just sort of to make sure you get one in, a banker, so to speak. And then now he's going to really just completely go for it for these final 3 minutes worth of qualifying. He'll be able to complete this lap and probably one more, but those will be the last chances he has to try and snatch pole position away from Callum Brandt.
Will indeed. Just keeping our eye out for any improvements. Lewis Ward and Dan McCauley not improving. Mike Horder spins the car at the side of the circuit and will go back to the pits. He did mention in the chat that his VR was actually backwards. So when he was looking left with his head, physically moving his head to look left, the headset was then pointing right and vice versa. So as you can imagine, that's very off-putting. Drew Fletcher is off the road and goes back to the pits as we click on him. We've got Philip Hopley 19th at the moment. Doesn't look like many improvements coming in. Stuart Clark's a bit further down the order than we would have expected as well. And he's 1.5 seconds off the pace, down in 15th position. An improvement there from Christopher Smith puts him in 6th position, still in the BMW. We've got RD Simsport and Apex Racing Academy both inside the top 6 as well. And it's important this because for the team's championship, like Dan mentioned last week, Ed, you've got to really think about every single point because despite the great efforts, those 2 teams still scored the same points.
Yeah, I think I'll follow what you were putting down there. Yeah, I see what you mean exactly. And I mean, a lot of it does come down to, I think, in terms of the team's championship, both putting the practice in together and making sure that you're at a similar pace, and mainly in the races as well, making sure that you can keep it out of trouble more than anything else. I mean, Christopher Smith and Callum Brandt, I mean, more in Callum's case, he's been keeping out of trouble. Christopher Smith, now that he's started to have a lot more calmer races, he's been able to pick up the points as well. And I think, for me, while it does seem that Lewis Ward and Dan McCauley might be putting together the quickest drivers over one lap over the course of a race, I just imagine that RD Simsport are really going to give a good go at this.
I think they absolutely will. And it's great to see that team's championship fight as well. It's not like we've got 2 drivers that are just disappearing off into the distance as part of the same team. They're really throwing everything at it, and we've got a good scrap on our hands, and it's nice to see that. Dan McCauley improves his lap time, but remains in 4th position behind Simon Povey, so nothing too extravagant yet to throw him back up the order. Just keeping our eye on Callum Brandt just to see if he can do anything with this lap, but doesn't seem like there's anything else going on to set the world alight here. 46.6, but he's behind his teammate Christopher Smith now, which is important, so that's really going to help him in case he does need to get a solid final lap. There's a couple of drivers now that will be crossing the line, and it will be the last lap that they do in the session. Kim Such crosses the line. Mark Johnson is going to complete the session. That green looks fantastic on that Aston Martin, very shiny indeed. Around the final corner he goes, Ed, and it doesn't look like it's going to be an improvement, but he's going to complete the session.
As my internet has a slight moment here. Yeah, you can see now the final laps are coming in for this qualifying session. Callum Brandt has been able to carry on. And he's got his teammate for company as well. This could be a very good lap time here as long as he's not held up. Matthias Tehm as well. He's in a perfect position because he's behind the fastest driver on track. Imagine the slipstream he's going to be getting. There's, oh my word, Lewis Ward with the purple middle sector. It's not over yet. Simon Povey's on a quick one as well. Personal best in the 1st and 2nd sector. It's all coming to a head here, Chaz, right at the dying moments of qualifying.
It is, yeah. Lewis Ward with that purple sector, as Ed mentioned, but he's got to consider the fact that he didn't improve his first sector. Simon Povey's backed out of it by the look of it. Simon's pulled over to one side, so he's not going to get an improvement on his lap. Can Lewis Ward, at the last dying moments, take pole position here at Hockenheim in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge? He crosses the line with another personal best, and he does not. It's a 1:45.403. And it is not enough of an improvement by Lewis Ward, but a sterling effort all the same. Callum Brandt hasn't improved on his laps, and he's going to abandon that one as well. Matthias Temm's going to carry on through, but he's not improved in any sectors either. Doesn't actually look like anybody's improved on this final lap, to be fair. Looks like Callum Brandt is quite safe to take that pole position here in the 6th round of the championship, the initiator for the second half of the season. As we see another very bright green car on the final corner. Kim Such, fastest lap so far of a 1:47.44. And I think that's going to be in the 1:48s that lap as he crosses the line. 1:48.5. Fausto Pinto just completed a lap as well. 1:47 dead. His best was a 1:46.56. So that's going to be all for qualifying there, Ed. A fantastic session. Really entertaining as ever. But Callum Brandt, for the first time this season, gets pole position.
And a stunning lap as well it was. Got a little bit of help from Matthias into towards the second corner and slightly coming out, but then the rest was all his own doing. Didn't really have any teammates for company, but put the lap down and then set another lap time just after, which still would have been good enough for pole position. I mean, we talk about statements. That is one bold and underlined.
Absolutely is. He's done a smashing job there. And that's exactly what he needs to show these guys, because a lot of them may see him in this early stage of the season as one of those drivers that's just going to sit in their shadow effectively and just be up there with them, but not be somebody that can challenge them enough for a victory. And to have that as a driver can be very, very distracting and, well, very demoralising as well. Callum Brandt takes his first pole position then alongside Lewis Ward on the front row. Simon Povey and Dan McCauley make up row 2. There's surely going to be fireworks there. Rob Sharp and Christopher Smith make up a great row 3. Matthias Temm and Paul Goffin will be looking to pick up any scraps from 7th and 8th. Ben Gregory and Jacob Money round out the top 10. Gary Tall is alongside Fausto Pinto, sparring partners from Daytona last season. John Roberts and Rob Sutherland make up row 7. Stuart Clark is 15th alongside Paul Gosling in 16th place. Then we have Mark Johnson and Tom Weston qualifying inside the top 20. Mike Horder is down there in 19th place. Consider that he's 4th in the championship. He's going to really want to move forward from there. Philip Hopley rounds out your top 20. Kim Such is 21st alongside Heinz Mayer in 22nd. Then it's Drew Fletcher and Ryan Penny on row 12. Behind them we have the boss man Andy Marston in 25th position ahead of Ralph Mayer in 26th. And Peter Brill rounds out the field in car 718. So it's all going to kick off in just a moment, Ed. We've got our wonderful grid here. A very low frame rate, I imagine. But Callum Brandt, for the first time this season, is going to be the one that determines the pace and gets away here. And, well, to be honest, I think the major playing point here is going to be the fact that we've got these two Apex Racing Academy McLarens on the same side of the grid.
Yeah, they're going to really try and crowd out, I think, not just Simon Povey, but also see what they can do against Callum, potentially into the second corner, that heavy braking zone. It's going to be all down to Callum. What is he going to do? I'd recommend that I think he just goes as early as possible to catch out those around him and give himself breathing space as he gets to that real overtaking action zone in the first lap and keeps his nose completely clear of any trouble. As well, all these drivers have to exercise maximum caution because we're into the stage of the championship where a bad result can really do a lot of damage to your season.
Unfortunately, Mike Horder's bad result is going to come here guaranteed, because he's mentioned in the chat, or in the Discord at least, that he's not going to be able to take the start. His VR headset has died, so he's not going to be able to get in the car, and he is 4th in the championship after an amazing run of consistency so far. He's not going to be taking to the grid, I'm afraid. With 75 points to his name already this season, that is a big, big loss. And it's a loss for us as well, because Mike's been a real superstar in these races, so it's a shame not to see him out there. But here we go. Round 6 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge is about to get underway here at Hockenheim. It's Callum Brandt and Lewis Ward on the front row of the grid. Two drivers that we've seen sparring time and time again so far this season. Callum is holding the brakes, he's getting them ready, and he's going to put his foot down now, and round 6 of the championship gets underway. Dan McCauley's not had the start he would have wanted. Simon Povey's already in front of him, and Lewis Ward slips in behind straight away. Christopher Smith side by side with Rob Sharp. Matthias Thames sitting behind the two of them. Jacob Money's in the thick of it as well. Kim Such has gained a few places off the start, but has to compromise down the inside. It looks very tidy from everybody else. There's a little bit of movement inside the top 5, which is Christopher Smith moving forward on Rob Sharp. Matthias Thames there to try and make a move as well. But let's go on board with this BMW now, Ed, as there's a bit of shenanigans behind. Gary Tall is around. He's having the worst luck this season, is Gary Tall. But we're going to have to come back to him in just a moment. Let's see what Christopher Smith can do in this BMW from here.
Yeah, coming through the Parabolica now in towards the heavy braking zone for the tight hairpin, and already, look at this, Callum Brandt under massive pressure. Lewis Ward going for the lead. Up the inside though, the defence was certainly strong from Callum, and he's able to hang on to the lead, but Lewis Ward, he's going to challenge him right back now as we make our way towards the infield. 3 abreast as we go in towards the hairpin, and there's contact on the exit. Oh my word, they're certainly coming together. I think that's Philip Hopley and Drew Fletcher coming to blows.
Yeah, it was indeed. There was also an off earlier on, I mentioned, with Gary Tall, unfortunately falling by the wayside. This is what happened. He's got, I mentioned sparring partners and Fausto Pinto. Fausto turns him around, and then Paul Gosling had an issue on the exit. Is he going to do this himself? Yeah, he just loses the back end. Tom Weston and John Roberts came to blows there as well. But Gary Tall, unfortunately, getting taken out by Fausto, just having a little bit too much on the brakes, or not enough on the brakes. And then this is what happened to Drew Fletcher down into the hairpin. So you've got Philip Hopley. Watch out for Ryan Penny behind them, because I think Ryan sends a massive send there. That's on his teammate as well. SRM Racing Team B. Ryan tucks it in. Drew gives him all the room in the world. And then on the exit, just unfortunately, Philip does have to come back on the circuit at some point, and Drew just couldn't get the car over to the right in time.
Yeah, that is, like you mentioned, really unfortunate. It's Matthias Thames and Ben Gregory. They're familiar sparring partners, aren't they? Going wheel to wheel in towards turn 1, now in towards turn 2. The inside line given to the boosted motorsport driver, but look at the run around the outside from Matthias. He's going to try and have a nose up the inside, but no, Ben Gregory slams that door shut, and they will continue to go side by side now, down towards the Parabolica.
There's been a moment for Rob Sutherland as well. He's lost the back end of the Aston Martin coming around the final corner. I don't think he hits the wall, but he's lost a massive amount of places, unfortunately, and he's really dropped back with that one. We do go back to this, though. Ben Gregory, Matthias Thames into the hairpin. Matthias round the outside, but the boosted SimSport Aston Martin looks good on the inside. Callum Brandt still leads this race after the early advances of Lewis Ward, but I am really, really excited, because I think this sort of 6-car train that we've got, it could very easily stay like this for the majority. Rob Sharp at the back of it as well. He's in the slipstream of that big old BMW. But we've got a Mercedes, 3 McLarens, a BMW and a Porsche, and then 2 Aston Martins waiting in the wings behind as well, as there's a move for the lead. Lewis Ward gets a fantastic run on Callum Brandt, and all of a sudden he's got it, Ed. Fantastic stuff.
This is excellent, but is Callum going to try and challenge now as we come in towards the infamous corner where we've seen huge dramatic moments in recent memory? But no, we don't see another one this time by, as Callum Brandt stays in the shadow of Lewis Ward for the moment. You can be certain that grunt of the Mercedes is going to power him all the way down towards that hairpin corner. The first point of the way overlap from the start-finish line. We're really going to watch an excellent battle. As oh my word, what's happened with Mark Johnson?
Well, there's been an off for Kim Such. Kim's had an off at the hairpin, unfortunately. And then Mark Johnson's had his own off here into the hairpin. The back end goes around on the change down. I think Peter Brill had a moment at the same time. He's also had a moment through the right-hander. So there's cars going off all over the place at the moment. But we've got this epic battle at the front end, and really, we can't leave it alone, can we?
No, we cannot. This is excellent stuff on display. Lewis Ward and Callum Brandt. I think Callum's going to maybe wait a little while and save some fuel, I think, at this stage of the race. He's happy to let Lewis Ward be the pace setter, because from qualifying, we know that Callum is the quicker of the 2 drivers, and it'll play into his hands brilliantly if he's in this fight for these sort of top 5 positions coming into the race, because he's so quick and so careful on his tyres.
Yeah, that's it. That car is certainly good at it as well, so as long as he knows how to nurse the car around, it should go well for him later on in the race. There's Paul Gosling going past Ralph Mayer in car 990. Paul Gosling now trying to recover after the earlier spin. Gary Tall's recovered a little bit as well in the McLaren. He's back up to 18th place after dropping right to the back of the field. So he's gained a few spots so far. But nobody inside the top 10 is separated by more than a second. That's how close it is at the moment.
Hockenheim never disappoints. We've had some excellent races across various different seasons and categories, be it endurance or this. Like last season, there was some brilliant racing on display. Will we see a repeat victor? Simon Povey won this equivalent round last time out. I don't know if he's going to be in that position this time, because both Lewis Ward and Callum Brandt, they are, I think, the favourites at this stage of the race, because their lap times are outstanding and they're trading blows left and right, lap after lap. This is brilliant stuff.
It really is. This is what we want to see. We don't want drivers to just disappear off up the road and take championship points out of each other that way. We want them to fight on track, and that's what we're getting. I imagine Simon Povey's pretty happy right now, because there's been a couple of rounds this season where he's led the race and he's led it all the way through, only then to almost and sometimes get caught out by the strategy because of the drivers saving fuel behind him. He's sat in third at the minute, and he knows that Dan McCauley's going to probably play the long game as well. Christopher Smith might be a little bit more impatient and try and get up there to fight his teammate. Rob Sharp's got nothing to lose with throwing the Porsche forward to hold on to Porsche honours. But right now, where Simon Povey is, he can just sit there, enjoy the pace, stay on a very strong pace, and still save fuel. So he's in a really good situation here, I'd say.
Yeah, but again, the best situation would be for him to be seconds clear of the cars around him. At the moment, he's in a slightly more precarious predicament where he isn't necessarily able to set the pace that we know he loves to do. It's something that's really been one of his strengths, is getting out front and setting the pace and managing not just his strategy but the strategies of everyone else around him. At this moment, I don't know if he's going to be too comfortable.
He has mentioned he's got man flu as well, apparently, so he's told me in his own words earlier today, death is coming. So he wasn't feeling great this morning, but he's decided to still give it a go. So hats off to Simon for his commitment. Gary Tall and I did convince him as well to go and at least push on. Gary's words were a little bit blunter than mine, but to be honest with you, it certainly spurred him on. We've got Jacob Money, who's spurred on right now, to have a go at Paul Goffin in the McLaren, the gorgeous Orris Sapphire Simsport Porsche. Down the inside of the SRM Racing Team A McLaren, nearly contact between the two. Paul relinquishes the space. Jacob Money moves up into 9th position at the moment. Ben Gregory's cleared away from Matthias Tem quite a bit here as well, Ed. He's going to be itching to fight with the drivers ahead of him, isn't he? Because he's had a bit of rotten luck himself this season when he's been in great positions to score big points.
Yeah, I mean, he was so good at Spa. Just one little mistake, which was coming out of La Source, where he span, and that saw him plummet down the order. He had a great fight back and great battles, like you say, with Matthias Tim. But now I think it's his chance to really kick on, and like you say, bag probably what is going to be his best result of the season. I think if he can get up to that train and fight with him, we know his racecraft is excellent. He's going to be one to watch as well.
He really is. This is certainly the one to watch at the minute, though. Callum Brandt is right up behind Lewis Ward. I don't think he's pushing too hard. I think he knows that Lewis means business here, and he's going to maybe sit in there, try and save a lap of fuel, get some clean air, and then just do what he can do from that point onwards. But we have to wait and see. I don't know what these guys are going to be doing strategy-wise. We've seen some interesting calls from the Apex Racing Academy guys before. We've seen drivers have really long stints and, to be honest, defy what we thought were the laws of physics with how long some of their stints have been. Some of them just didn't ever seem to come in for fuel. But it's all down to how the driver manages the car, how you manage the traffic, and your on-track situation at the time. Because we've seen it ourselves, haven't we, Ed, in this championship already a lot, that all it takes is for you to just be sat behind somebody for a few moments, for a few laps or so, and it can completely change your race.
I mean, we definitely saw that at Daytona, like you mentioned. There was some just mind-boggling displays from those Apex Racing Academy drivers, and I think now we are going to see potentially yet another with Dan McCauley able to sit in behind. He's going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons, and I think force Callum Brandt and Simon Povey to maybe take a suboptimal strategy and leave his teammate, maybe Lewis Ward, in the best spot to come through and win tonight's race. Yeah,
that's it. And let's not forget Lewis Ward leads the championship as well. He's got a current points lead of 13 points over Callum Brandt. Now you get 25 for winning the race and 22 for second. So even if Callum Brandt was to win this race with Lewis Ward in second, he'd only lose 4 points to him because Callum's got a point for pole position in this race. So he'd still have an 11-point advantage at the very top, but still, you can't risk losing any points at all over the course of a season, can you, Ed? We've seen it so many times in multiple disciplines of motorsport all over the world. Championships even decided by half a point in Formula 1 back in the day.
Absolutely, and what we're watching now could be yet another one of those close moments. I mean, like you say, that 1 point for Callum Brandt that he got for pole position, that might be a deciding factor as well. I don't, like you mentioned, it is his first of the season. It could be a decisive one as well, because at the moment he has looked excellent here tonight, and I think it's still probably my pick for the race victory, and of course what would be his first of the season. And what a story, what a time to do it as well, coming into the second half of the season, starting it on form with a real show of what he can do. You said it was something that has been coming all season long. Is tonight going to be the night that it'll happen, though?
I'll have to wait and see, I guess. There's only one way to find out in these things, isn't there? It's just been a great season from Callum so far. He's definitely been one of the most exciting drivers to have out there. But it's been, I mean, no disrespect to Simon, because we love Simon to bits. He's a real star of this championship. He is the reigning champion. You had an amazing battle with him last season, Ed, and it was great to see the championship go one way then the other so many times so quickly. But it's great to see that there's not that complete invincibility on Simon's side. You know, he's still under pressure from these great drivers, and they can really take the fight to him, and it puts him in amongst it. And I love to see that with drivers. You know, they're not just disappearing every round and winning every race by miles. They have to really work for their points, and I think Simon will enjoy that as well. Oh, Ben Gregory would have enjoyed that if he'd made that move work. I think Rob Sharp got a potential slowdown penalty because he was very slow off the exit of the hairpin. Had to relinquish quite a lot of time, and Ben Gregory is now right there with him. Rob's really taking his time through the right-hander though, as I think we've had an issue for Andy Marston. He's dropping places. Oh no, there's just a battle going on. Andy Marston, Kim Such, and then Ralph Mayers down the inside of the pair of them. Ralph backs out of it, thinks better of it. Andy turns in. Kim gets on the brakes as well, and that sorts itself out. Back to this though, and Rob Sharp is holding on ahead of Ben Gregory right now. That car is so pretty, isn't it, Ed? It's absolutely gorgeous.
It's a lovely looking machine. It's great to watch it battling as well, high up the order. Rob Sharp again, a great performance where he's not really been doing too much in terms of his positional change, but he just keeps putting in these strong, consistent results. And I think that's why his season has been so strong. And why as well his teammate Jacob Money is going to be happy that they're partnered up now, because both of them inside the top 10. That is a big haul of points.
Certainly is. Rob's actually the highest placed driver in the championship that hasn't scored a podium yet this season as well. He's only a couple of points ahead of the others as well, which are Christopher Smith and Matthias Tem. There's only 6 points between them. Then Ben Gregory as well, actually. So between them four, there's 20 points difference. But none of them have a podium yet so far this season. The driver with the most podiums is actually Lewis Ward on 5. Then Callum Brandt and Simon Povey have got 4 each. No other driver other than that has got more than 1. And only 2 drivers have race wins this season, Simon Povey and Lewis Ward. So when you look at those stats, you'd think it was definitely a sort of 1 or 2 horse race, but there's 3, 4, 5 drivers that could definitely still win the title from this point, as long as they have a consistent second half of the season.
Which does boggle the mind to think about, doesn't it? There's so many drivers that have a shot at glory here in the second season of the SRM GT4 Challenge. Of course, it will only be one. It just makes it a lot difficult for us as commentators to really predict who it's going to be. I think, oh my word, as Stuart Clark, it's a nasty hit up the backside, and how on earth no one else got collected in that, I have no idea.
I think it was Fausto Pinto wanted to move over on John Roberts. He wanted to move over to the right-hand side, so John's gone round the outside of him here. Stuart tries to get in on this, and then he's got the run, but Fausto moves over to the left and covers it off. I mean, Stuart has to back out of it a little bit, but then both of the cars ahead go wide, and Stuart gets a lovely cutback. And then Fausto just moves over to the right and clips the front corner. It's a great save by Stuart, and he's done a great job not to hit either of the other two, but I imagine he will be mighty miffed about that one.
It was the sound of the impact more that was nasty than anything else. I don't think there was anything untoward there. It's just a horrible, loud sort of grating crunch, wasn't it? It was not nice at all, but credit to him, he was able to keep it going. Didn't lose too much time either. I think in a few laps he's probably going to be able to catch back up to that little battle. As this battle continues to rage on for the lead of the race. Lewis Ward from Callum Brandt, from Simon Povey, from Dan McCauley. 3 McLarens, 1 Mercedes. But I still think it will be the Merc coming out on top.
Yeah, I think so. It's certainly looking strong, and we said it before that if he can be close enough going into the final stint of the race, we know that Callum's got the performance in the later stages to outdo these McLarens, and he just so happens to be surrounded by them at the moment. And all of the McLaren drivers do tell us that it eats its tyres in the long run. Dan McCauley was telling us at Spa that he just went a little bit too hard trying to stay with Simon in the opening stages, but still, it's so tantalising to watch. I mean, look how close Callum is to the back of Lewis Ward, and it'll be annoying Lewis in a way that he's not actually going for a move at this point, because in the perfect world right now, Callum would be all over him, using up his tyres and trying to get past, and then eventually making the move to get through. As Callum has a blip in and out there for a moment, he's going to pop back again. But Lewis's perfect scenario would be Callum having a go, getting in front, but using his tyres doing it. Let's not forget Christopher Smith in this scenario as well. He's managed to pull off some incredible recovery drives throughout the season, so considering he's going to be starting this one from 5th place, I think he's definitely one to watch in the long run here.
I mean, absolutely. Let's have a look at how far away he is from the back end of Dan McCauley. 2.5 seconds. That's nothing. I mean, that could easily be made up in the pit stops into the strategy, and who knows if these lot continue to battle. If Christopher Smith in that BMW can pull a bit of a wild card out here, he could easily be on for a podium. I mean, no bones about it. You can just see in the background as well. Let's not discount Rob Sharp from this as well. He's about a second and a half back from the BMW as well. Good to see so many manufacturers, like you say, occupying the top positions. I think every car being represented inside the top 7 positions.
I've got something to point out here, actually, Ed. So let me just go through a list from the bottom of the field going up. We've got Peter Brill, Ralph Mayer, Andrew Marston, Philip Hopley, Stuart Clark, John Roberts and Ben Gregory. All those drivers have something in common, and that is that they've gained 2 places from when this race has started. Only 2 drivers have gained more than 2 places in this race. Heinz Mayer has gained 7 from where he started, 22nd on the grid, inside the top 15 now, which is a point-scoring position. But the car ahead of him, which is car 99 of Ryan Penny, once again, biggest mover in the field with 10 places gained. I'll repeat that, 10 places gained when nobody else, other than Heinz Mayer, who's got 7, no one else has got more than 2. Fantastic drive by Ryan so far. Very well done.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of him as well, which is maybe a good sign that he's been able to keep himself, well, out of trouble. Get some good positions, as you can see the Ken Block tribute on the front bumper. Giving him, well, some, I think, very good fortune here. His races, especially in the pace in these last few rounds, has been really, really strong. I think he's had some. Is it going to be his best result of the season actually tonight? If it's the way it is, I think it will be.
I'll have a look at his points so far. Ryan Penny has scored 7, 2 and 4 in rounds 1, 2 and 4. Now you'd get 7 points for finishing higher than 14th actually. I think 13th is probably the best that Ryan would have got. So he's nearly on for his best result of the season, but still, he's going to carry on pushing. This is Gary Toll making his way back through the order. Heinz Mayer has now gained 6 places. That might become 5 if Tom Weston sends one up the inside, but he thinks better of it. He's just playing it safe for now. There's a battle further back as well, which is Paul Gosling and Rob Sutherland. Rob pulls the Aston Martin out to the right-hand side around the big old BMW, but then again, it makes the BMW look narrowed as the Aston Martin. It's a big, flat, beefy machine is the Aston. Rob looked like he was going deep on the brakes there, but gets it stopped nicely. You see the gorgeous spec maps on these 2 cars as the textures shine away in the sun. The matte black and sort of metallic finishes on both of them, showing off these liveries in gorgeous fashion. And right now, Paul Gosling wants to come back here at Rob Sutherland, but decides against it into the very tight left-hander. Lewis Ward still leads this race, but Christopher Smith, there you go. He's the first one to blink here, Ed. He's the first driver to pit as Callum Brandt does the fastest lap of the race. So pit stops are starting now, and this 4 has spread out a little bit, hasn't it?
Just a touch. I'm not sure if that's more Dan McCauley potentially looking after his tyres and not necessarily pushing up to the rear end of Simon Povey. Callum Brandt was all over the back end of Lewis Ward there, in towards the second corner, but as they come through Parabolica. Let's have a look at the closing speed of the Mercedes. Don't know if Callum is necessarily going full throttle. In fact, he seems to be managing to keep the gap the same and lifting off early as well. Not sure if he's necessarily going for a move in towards the hairpin. He might be trying something later on in the lap. Coming into the pits ahead of Lewis Ward. I think that's the best thing to do, is make an overtake and then come into the pits.
Yeah, he's certainly looking good at the moment, but this is the thing. He's in a situation now where he can make this strategy work. He can do whatever he wants with it now. He's sat behind Lewis Ward for long enough. He's been down that Parabolica with that McLaren right in front of him. He's been saving the fuel, even if it's not what he would have had planned for the whole race. He's been saving the fuel, and he might be able to take advantage of that. Simon Povey's going to sit right behind this and probably just react to whatever the guys in front of him do. We'll have to wait and see. Final couple of corners now. We're at 1/3 race distance, 20 minutes covered, and all of them are carrying on by the look of it. What about Dan McCauley behind? Yeah, Dan is also carrying on in the McLaren. Rob Sharp, he's continuing on too. So we'll have to see if anyone else that's...
Look where, if we can, Chaz, at Christopher Smith, where he's on circuit, because if he doesn't have too much traffic, this could be very good news. If Lewis Ward and Callum Brandt start to battle and slow down that front four, he can find himself maybe even in the lead of the race after the pit stops.
There's a definite potential for it.
That's 10 into the pits.
Yep, Matthias 10 moves
from
in.
7th place.
He's not having a bad race either, to be fair, but again, he's just not setting the world alight, is he? He's just not quite up there.
I don't think it's an Aston Martin circuit, unfortunately for him. Him and Ben Gregory, I think, have a little bit more in terms of their pace as drivers, but I just don't think the Aston Martin is a car that's suited for this circuit.
No, it doesn't seem like it's a car that needs the punch out of the corner, and that's just something it's not got, I'm afraid, and it is the one that's suffering at the moment. I mean, all the other manufacturers before Christopher Smith pitted were ahead of it, and Ben Gregory is the highest placed Aston in the field in 6th place, and we've had them in and around the top 5 all season so far. But I love that shot there when they come towards you before this final complex, and you see them coming out of the hairpin in the background. The depth of field and the effect of the camera being focused on these cars really looks good through there. That's a focusing moment for Ben Gregory as well, to be fair. Let's look back at our leaders. Lewis Ward round the final couple of corners now. Is he going to tuck in and go into the pits? Yes he is. He's on the brakes much more than we would have expected than before, and he brings it in. But interestingly, his teammate Dan McCauley stays out. Now normally they mirror each other very, very easily, but this time it seems like Dan wants to stay out. Lewis has been right at the front of this, using all that fuel. Dan feels like he can maybe get another lap or so out of this, but I'm intrigued now to see what these pair can do. Now they've got the clean air here, Ed.
Yeah, see the closing speed from Simon Povey to the rear end of Callum Brandt, if he's going to fancy a move through the Parabolica and in towards the all-important hairpin. Like we say, is the furthest part of the circuit away from the rest, away from the start-finish line. As soon as you turn there, it's basically homeward bound. And that's Montec CDM Esports car. That is very quick McLaren in a straight line, you know. Could be one that Callum Brandt might be having to worry about later on in the race, or will it be the other McLaren, the McLaren that's just coming out of the pits of Lewis Ward? I'll tell you what, Christopher Smith, he's gained a lot of time here, and he's going to be now right up to the back end of what was the leader.
Yeah.
A brilliant strategy from Christopher Smith. Could see himself in net 2nd place.
That's it. Lewis Ward was the race leader before he pitted, and it was 2.5 seconds, let's not forget, from Dan McCauley in 4th at the time, back to Christopher Smith in 5th. Christopher's now only 3/4 of a second behind Lewis Ward, the ex-race leader, who's now going down the inside of Mark Johnson. He knows there's no time to be wasted here. He needs to get on with this, but he's going to compromise his line on the exit. Christopher Smith doesn't have to worry about that, and he's getting even closer to the back. There's a purple sector 1 from Simon Povey, purple sector 2 from Dan McCauley. So all of a sudden, now Lewis Ward isn't at the front of this, it's kicking off, and this is great because this is what happens with these pit stops. Lovely move down the inside by Christopher Smith, not wasting any time either in getting past Mark Johnson. The two of them continue to go forward. Boy, this is getting exciting. Simon Povey and Dan McCauley in the pits. Callum Brandt has now got another lap on his own without anyone bothering him from in front or behind. This could be an important one, Ed.
This could be mega because let's not forget what was the race leader. We'll stress it again, Lewis Ward. He had a lot of traffic to deal with. He had to slow down so much to pass Mark Johnson as he came out of the pits. This is going to really hamper his outlap. Callum Brandt, he's got clear air. He's got nobody to worry about. Simon Povey, Dan McCauley, all coming into the pits behind them. They might get lucky because everyone else is going to be coming into the pits at this stage of the race. So they should instead find themselves coming out maybe in second place, maybe in third. We'll see. As Simon Povey comes out onto the racing circuit, Lewis Ward is going by. He's been overtaken by Simon Povey in the pits. It might be close in towards the braking zone, but Simon has the position nailed down. And now what will Callum Brandt be doing? Because Callum came in just ahead of Simon. Simon gets a little bit of a twitch. Do you see that car suddenly cooled down with the brakes, tyres stationary, not getting that heat run into him? And all of a sudden now, this is going to be an all-important outlap from Simon to keep up with Callum Brandt.
Importantly as well, Rob Sharp and Ben Gregory have come out of the pits right together ahead of Matthias Tem. Dan McCauley, though, has lost about 6 seconds to Christopher Smith ahead of him. So it's certainly thrown the cat amongst the pigeons for Dan. He's just not been able to make it work through the pit stops, has he, so far this season? It's always been the sort of point where it comes apart. Ben Gregory looks down the inside of Rob Sharp, realises they need to work together to go forward. Is Callum Brandt going to pit this time? Yes, he is. He's holding the brakes. He's slowing the car down nice and smoothly. In is usually what you'd hear when a Mercedes comes into the pit lane like that, but just not in the rain and not with the wing missing. Simon Povey, then, is effectively leading the race until we know exactly where Callum Brandt comes out. But look at the gaps there. That has changed so much because not only has Simon overtaken Lewis, but Christopher Smith has gained so much from that. He's really made it work.
Yeah, let's have a look at the time spent into the pits. So Christopher Smith was stationary in the pit lane, in his pit box rather, but for 20 seconds. Simon Povey was there for 24.43. Lewis Ward for 23.53. So it's around about 3 or 4 seconds that Christopher Smith has gained in terms of the pit stop, but he's going to gain so much more in the slipstream. Callum Brandt is now making his way out of the pit lane. Where is Simon Povey going to be coming through? He's just come across the line now. That is a huge amount of time that Callum Brandt now has.
My God.
He's had such a short stop as well, 18 seconds.
That's incredible. Just to note as well, Dan McCauley was in the pits for 30 seconds as well. But interestingly, when you mention Simon Lewis and their pit stop times, just to reiterate it, Simon Povey stationary for 24.4 seconds. That is, well, 9/10 more than Lewis Ward that he was stationary for. Basically, almost a second. And he was sat still for that much time longer and he's still come out in front. Their total time in the pit lane, though, from entrance to exit, was 43.2 seconds for Simon and 43.4 for Lewis. So it shows you even on pit lane entry and exit, you still can gain and lose time. So it's definitely something worth practicing. And I think there's a number of drivers, you know, that maybe overlook that.
100%. There's so much you can gain by just getting it right to the very limits in terms of the speed you take coming up to those cones that denote the pit lane speed limit line. That was one thing that I think I've always been really good and what's helped me out a lot of the times in these cars is being able to time it onto the brakes and time the way you can enter the pit lane, time the line coming out of the pit lane, getting the car started from stationary as well. Not something you often do in a GT4 car, but it really comes through if, say, a session gets set up wrong or if you're coming out of a stationary pit box start.
I'll tell you what, Matthias Tem's car was all over the place then as he was trying to push on to maybe make something of this Ben Gregory and Rob Sharp battle going on in front of him. He's all over the back of the Porsche and we're about to get to near half race distance and it's been another thriller already so far in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Don't forget to, of course, like the video and subscribe to Chaz Draycott Media if you haven't already. This is Chaz Draycott and Ed May in the commentary box for the 6th round of the 2nd season of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. We're going into the second half of the season right now. Thanks as always to the sponsors of our championship. The Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge is sponsored by Orris Digital, Crockery Direct, Blinds to Go and Mydas Simulations. Orris Digital are an e-commerce consultancy and digital marketing agency run by Heinz Mayer, one of his many companies, and Crockery Direct as well, which sell amazing quality stoneware and porcelain at very reasonable prices. I would read out the rest of the stuff on the other sponsors, but I can't remember where I put it, so I'm really, really sorry. Mydas Simulations as well were an absolute star in getting the sponsorship over as well. Actually, Matt Dorrington He's a real legend. Byron Crawford from Blinds to Go as well. You'll actually see Blinds to Go on TV, which I realised recently. I was sat in bed watching TV and suddenly a Blinds to Go advert came on. I thought, I know that. Brilliant. Blinding.
I see you love it. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Absolutely wonderful.
Didn't see that
stuff.
coming.
Yeah, I was just having a look at the. Honestly, Chaz.
I
Let's
know.
have a look. Let's see what my train of thought was before it was
Demolished.
derailed there. Let's have a look. Callum Brandt. Let's have a look at the pit lane times as well. 5 seconds difference between himself and Simon Povey, but the gap out on circuit is 5.5. The gap. So it shows that I think even still with a slightly longer pit stop from Callum Brandt at the next time, he still should come out just ahead of Simon. But what might also come through is if Lewis Ward and Simon start to battle, they could lose time to the race leader. I think that is exactly why Callum has gone for a shorter mid-stop to get that clear air and not allow those McLarens to close up to him.
It's been an issue for Jacob Money, I'm afraid. He's had a spin. He's not gone off the road for very long, although he has to let Paul Goffin go. Good quick thinking that by Jacob, although maybe not the three-point turn. Not a massive fan of that, but still, he's managed to continue. It's just he's dropped behind this now. He's in 13th position. These guys have just gone past him. Got Ryan Penny still on his mission, by the way. He's ahead of Mark Johnson. He's gained 9 places in this race. Mark started 17th, so he's only gained 1, but it's still better than gaining none at this point. Lewis Ward is closing in on Simon Povey a bit now for second place, but it is still about 6/7 of a second, and we're into the second half now. And the pit stops, to be fair, Ed, we're only going to be about 10-15 minutes away from pit stops again here, so it could all get shaken up once more.
Yeah, I really do think that Mercedes, it's still not necessarily the fastest car to be out on the circuit, but give it another 8 or so minutes. As soon as we see 20 minutes remaining, I think the pendulum will start to shift in Callum's favour. So it's going to be all down to what Simon and Lewis can do while they still have some form of advantage if they can capitalise, because as it stands, Callum is in the best position to win this race. He has been for a lot of the time here tonight. Put it on pole position, so that's already 1 point in the books. Can he get the maximum here at Hockenheim when his main rival Lewis Ward has been squabbling away with Simon Povey? Could find himself dropping back not just to second place but also third place in the standings as Lewis. This could be a pivotal moment, and a moment we'll look back on in the championship and think this was where it went in favour. And look at the lap time from Callum Brandt. Purple lap, faster than anybody else out on circuit. Oh my word, he is really going for it. Maybe the pendulum has already swung, Chaz.
It might have done. This is fantastic stuff by Callum Brandt so far. We'll have to just see how the pit stops shake out in the second phase. Jacob Money now down the inside of Stuart Clark. He makes the move and goes through. We've had a move further down as well. Mark Johnson has finally got past Ryan Penny. Jacob Money wants to make up for that mistake that he made just a lap or so ago, and he's run wide through the final corner now. He gets held up slightly by Fausto Pinto in the Mercedes. Hello everybody that is watching in the chat. Or, well, you're not watching from the chat. Hello to everyone that's watching. Do say hello in the chat. Let us know what your predictions are for the rest of the race. Let us know what you've been enjoying so far, what you want to see. We don't take requests like BBC Radio 2. We're not going to show you all of your favourite drivers, but I do try and make sure that everybody gets a bit of airtime here and there, and that we do see a bunch of drivers throughout their own respective parts of the race, because I don't want to sit here and just show the leaders and ignore everything else. There's a lot of great guys in this championship and they all deserve the airtime. And to be honest, we've had some great drives through as well. Ben Gregory started just inside the top 10. Once again, Ed, he's got through, as Murray Walker used to say, bless him, he's got through the tough nuts to crack inside the top 10, you know. He may have only gained 3 places, but they're 3 of the toughest places in the field to gain if you need to move forward.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, I was having a look as well, just going to say about calling out drivers that we want to see. I wanted to have a look at Mydas Simulations, who's just been putting in
there he is.
A really good lap time there. His personal best of the race so far. As soon as I say that, though,
he's
he
off
goes
the track.
runs slightly wide of the mark, and you think he's been pushing a little bit too hard there. But I mean, those last few sectors as well from Mydas were really quick ones, so he's definitely been piling the pressure on Rob Sharp. As Callum Brandt, I did see, he's at a purple first sector. Yet again, another fastest lap of the race so far. Simon Povey has just done his personal best, but he still lost about 1/10 and a half to Callum Brandt. But that's just gutting. You put in a personal best, and you still see the leader pulling away from you. And there's just nothing more soul destroying. Honestly, Chaz, I've had it all the time with Simon last season. So part of me's a little bit glad to see him get a taste of his own medicine.
I was wondering if that was going to come around. I love that. I love the honesty, Ed, and I know Simon will as well, to be fair. He often does watch the broadcasts back, so if you're there, Simon, I hope you're recovering from the flu, mate, but I hope you're enjoying this one. He's got Lewis Ward right behind him right now, though, and he's going to be hoping that doesn't turn into too much of a battle. Jacob Money's having to work very hard here to go past Fausto Pinto. Neither of them could decide which way to go, and that's very opportunistic by Stuart Clark. To be fair, he was down the inside for quite a while there and, well, makes it through.
That was brilliant.
Lovely, lovely opportunistic stuff there. Let's have a look at that from on board with Stuart Clark then. So look how far back he is here. You've got Fausto moves over to the right. He did go left a little bit as well. It was a little bit naughty. Stuart's later on the brakes. He sees a gap. He does go for it, and he's there for a while, to be fair. So, yeah, I like that, Stuart. Top effort, that. Absolutely top effort. Now Fausto's going to try and get him back.
That whole moment, Chaz, was perfect. The little dive to the inside by Jacob Money was forced so tight by Fausto, who then realised, right, I need to go for maybe a switchback manoeuvre, run wide and hit a later apex. But that plan was immediately scuppered by the almost rocket ship-like arrival from the BMW. Stuart Clark just shot in there. He saw a gap, he went for it, barged his way through, but didn't do anything untoward. And that was an excellent piece of racing by all three of them. That has got to be season highlight stuff from all of them. Amazing.
To be honest, you say it's like a rocket ship. That was like throwing a cross-channel ferry into a small cafe. That was. It was just such a massive boat is the BMW, but I absolutely love that by Stuart Clark. He don't care. He just chucks it in there and, you know, he made it stick. It was a very valid move, to be fair. I don't think Fausto saw it coming, and that's the only reason they made contact. We've got this now on our screens again. 1.8 seconds separating these four drivers. 3 different manufacturers, 4 different teams. Fury Sim Sports Matthias Tem chasing down Orris Sapphire Sim Sports Rob Sharp. Then it's Boosted Sim Sports Ben Gregory and Apex Racing Academy's Dan McCauley. Dan is going to want a fuss-free race now to the end, and these guys will not be helping that. He's got a podium, which was his first one last time out at Spa. It's moved him up to 9th in the championship on 47 points. And he's just not going to want any faff from these lot behind him. But to be honest, I mean, he's got Ben Gregory pushing him through the hairpin. Faff is what Ben Gregory's all about. He wants to really get on Dan's nerves in this race and gain a freebie from it and get it to the top 5.
Yeah, Dan's really struggling as well. His lap times have suddenly fallen off. I'm not sure what it is about the McLaren, but he's just not quite sitting right with it, at least here at Hockenheim. He's been so good when he switched over from Daytona, same at Spa as well. But now at this phase of the race, he's just starting to lag just a bit behind the pace. And Ben Gregory, he can smell blood. He can sense that Dan McCauley's sort of walking wounded. As here we go, another great battle this time for 10th place as John Roberts tries to hag it around the outside to then get the inside. You know what, a little bit of a twitch, but he contains the car under control. Excellent little defence from John Roberts, who, like we say, is one of the hardest drivers to try and overtake. He's so good at defending. He doesn't do anything dirty, but he just puts his car in the perfect position to frustrate all those that try and overtake him. But his pace isn't too bad either, up inside the top 10. This is where the drivers really want to fight for bragging rights and for that little bit more in terms of the points you can gain over the course of a season. I know that Jacob Money is going to be desperate to get inside the top 10 and help out his teammate Rob Sharp. But I think John is going to be trying to do exactly the same there for Ben Gregory. Those two boosted drivers want to get both of them up inside the top 10 as well, and maybe try and claw back some points in their championship that has not really been plain sailing for them.
It's just another fantastic example of this series, the close racing we've got, the different manufacturers, that little quartet we had there, Roberts, Money, Clark and Pinto. 4 different manufacturers, Aston Martin, Porsche, BMW and Mercedes. And then we've got this little quartet as well, or it was, until Matthias Tem went a little bit deep on the brakes into the hairpin. Selfless stuff
done,
through
mate.
the car, the car out of the way. Lovely driving, to be honest with you. It may have been a little mistake on the brakes, but who hasn't done that into that hairpin? But once again, we have this fantastic situation where we've got these little battles and quartets breaking out, haven't we, over the course of the race, and we've always got something to look at.
I still think he might be able to close up, you know, if we see McCauley defending like he has been doing and slowing down Ben Gregory. He's only 4 seconds back. He could easily make up that time if these lot squabble away like these lot are doing here. As we've just seen, I think that is John Roberts now been overtaken by Jacob Money. Let's have a look at the move onto the brakes. The Porsche is so good at getting it stopped onto the anchors, and then it rotates really well at the slow speed. Again, a little bit of a look up the inside
I noticed this.
From the BMW.
I saw the sort of delayed reaction of Stewart's BMW going very sideways on the exit, and now he's got Fausto Pinto all over the back of him in that gorgeous Mercedes. I think that's actually one of the best looking cars on the grid, is the Scalant Pro driving Merc. It's a simple livery, but it just really works on that car. It looks absolutely gorgeous with the gold and the sort of metallic Cadbury's purple on it. Really do like the look of that car. Going back to the front of the field, though, we're into the last 20 minutes of the race. Callum Brandt's now 6.8 seconds clear. However, he needs to be that far clear because in the pits, he was, 7 seconds, maybe 6.5 seconds shorter on his fuel than the cars around him. So can he make this work?
I think so. Even if he comes up behind Simon Povey, his car's going to be in a much better state. He's got the tyres underneath him. You can clearly see how quick he is in those middle sectors compared to everybody else. Let's have a look. Sector 3, last lap, 4 tenths faster. Sector 2, about 1.5 tenths faster. So he is really making it count in the corners, and that's going to serve him so strongly in those last few moments of the race, especially as the tyres really drop off on the McLarens.
Yeah, it's been very impressive, hasn't it, so far? And it's just what we have been hoping to see, admittedly, from Callum. He's put in some amazing performances. That even the first round of the championship, when he was chasing down Lewis Ward near the end of the race, we knew we were in for an exciting season with Callum on board, and he's stuck with it, and he's had some great results. He's not just had a win yet, that's the only thing, really. He's had second and third on the podium. He's actually into the pits now, is Callum Brandt. He's crawling down the pit lane. There's a huge bump there. I'm glad iRacing have mapped that, actually, because there is a massive bump in the middle of the pit lane at Hockenheim, and you think it's surely not legal to have. Up on the jacks it goes, though. He's going to take tyres for the end of the race. We'll see how long this service takes him. Ben Gregory comes into the pits now as well, so he's got out of that battle looking for a little bit of clean air. Simon Povey inherits the race lead. Callum Brandt's pit stop is... It's not going to be that long, is it? 19.3 seconds with tyres. That's a really good stop. And to be fair, with the amount of fuel he saved earlier, I think he's good to go to the end now. Well, he's obviously good to go to the end, but you know what I mean? I don't think he needs to save anything or worry about anything else. I think he's just going to push as hard as he can now and complete this race.
Yeah, that's what he needs to do. Can't be too worried about traffic. He's got nice little windows with tyres. He's just, I think, pushing a little bit too hard to try and catch up to those cars up in front. And I think he's now also coming into the pits.
Yeah, he has.
Probably the smartest thing to do. Break the sort of almost circuit break, what is a little bit of a downward spiral, and then get back up to the pace that we know he can achieve.
Where's this come from? Jacob Money and Ben Gregory. Oh, Ben's just completed his second stop and come out right in front of Jacob. Now, these are two drivers that you don't want to mess with on track. They are both very feisty racers. They love to prove their point on track, and to be honest, I think this is going to be a very entertaining battle. John Roberts behind it waiting for some fireworks. Jacob tries to get on the throttle early. You could see him back out of that there to not hit Ben Gregory's Aston Martin. Nice, respectful stuff. Gary Toll lurking in the background there as well, by the way. He's 13th place now. He's got back up to sort of where he was earlier. He started 11th on the grid in this race, so he's just about recovered from his incident. But we have a few drivers that have done their second stops of the race. So Callum Brandt, one of them. Ben Gregory, another. Oh, Jacob. Oh, did he hit Ben? Did he hit Ben?
I don't think there was contact.
Stuart Clark has clouted him. And, it's broken the front right on the BM. It's broken the front right on Stuart Clark's car. And I think you're right, I think Ben might have maybe adjusted to not... Oh, Jacob Money's battered the car in. Look at that. Don't drive that back, Jacob, because you might upset someone else's race. He's going to park it. Well, it was his own mistake, unfortunately, for Jacob Money. He just throws the car in. I'm just trying to find him on here. So it's in sideways. I think Ben loses it on his own as well. Ben's on the brakes. It rolls back, and then... no! Oh, Peter Brill tries to avoid Jacob, and he smacks him into the wall. Wasn't really much Peter could do, to be honest, but the impact that car's had is disgusting. And Jacob Money, I think, is going to be out of this one.
Difficult to see, though, from that angle, I think, if there was contact or not. But that we have seen netcode there in seasons past, Chaz.
Oh!
Between myself and Simon Povey, it's a tricky corner to really judge, and I think if we get a look on Chopper Camp, we'll have a look.
Oh no, he has hit him. Yeah, he's definitely gone into the back of him.
And then light contact, but still contact, and unfortunately, Ben Gregory's rotten luck. Well, we thought he was gotten away with it, but no, it seems to just carry on getting worse and worse for him.
Yeah, it was a big old hit as well, and you could see, look, Peter tries to go to the right-hand side, and just as Jacob gets going, there wasn't really anything he could do there. It's a big shame to see that incident, because it was a great battle up to that point as well. But the guys just came together. Jacob didn't need to put it down the inside into that corner. It's not really somewhere that you see people overtake, especially when you're already behind. And to be honest, I think he was just trying to get back forward again too quickly. Like you said about Matthias Tem earlier, we've all done it when you make a mistake or you have a spin and you try and push on to then make up for that mistake later on. You can drive with a bit of red mist and make little mistakes like that, and unfortunately it can be your undoing. And in this case, it has been for Jacob Money. Well, he's certainly the entertainer out there on track, it has to be said. Callum Brandt is blinking in and out a bit now. He crosses the line and goes round turn 1 past his teammate Christopher Smith, who has a pit stop of, wait for it, 18.5 seconds.
Pretty quick stop, to be fair. Similar to Callum Brandt's last pit stop as well. It seems to be about 20-second pit stop. Let's have a look at this though as well. Battle for what is 3rd place. Rob Sharp and Dan McCauley trading places into the braking zone. But it is a Porsche that's so good at getting it stopped. But on the exit now, the just sheer might of the McLaren and getting the power applied is a real strength of that car. It accelerates like nothing else. It really helps him out now as he powers his way around the outside and then gets back that position into the podium places yet again for Dan McCauley.
Now Stuart Clark won't be taking advantage of this in terms of a position gained, because he is a lap down now, unfortunately, after that incident on these two cars. He's outside of the top 20 as well, and we do give points to the top 20 finishes in the race. So unless there's 2 more retirements, then he's not going to score points, which is a real shame considering the manoeuvre he made earlier as well, which, like you said, definitely season highlight worthy. But now, after that incident, which, to be honest, he couldn't have done much about either. I don't think any of them could, really. I think Jacob was just the catalyst with trying to make a move where he maybe didn't even need to. He could have waited until a little bit later and gone from there. Dan McCauley enters the pit lane as Simon Povey and Lewis Ward now ignite their battle once again. Great to see these two going at it, hammer and tongs on the circuit. And, well, if there's 2 sparring partners that would be interesting to watch, it's definitely John Roberts and Ben Gregory. These two have been racing together for a long time. I think Ben might actually... Has he carried on? Yeah, he's had another stop, so not quite sure why he's not quite on the pace with John. He's lost a number of tenths in just the last couple of corners to him, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Now, Dan McCauley's come out of the pits, and Christopher Smith's already gone. Christopher Smith, even though Dan was in the pits for 6 seconds less, Christopher Smith has gone up the road even further now, so he's definitely made that work. Great strategy by RD Simsport. That's going to kick Dan right in the teeth, that one, unfortunately, because of course they're head-to-head with them in the team's championship as well, so RD Simsport here could very well extend that tiny gap that they've already got.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's going to be very close to see what's going to happen, but you said Apex Racing Academy, from their driver lineup and the pace they showed early season, they are probably favourites, but maybe that little car switch, that 25-point reduction that went the way of Dan McCauley, Apex Racing Academy, is that going to cost them? Are we going to see 25 points difference or lower at the end of the season? Look at this Simon Povey. Look at how much he gains, I think, in terms of just time saved into the pit lane. And now this is going to be key. Where is Callum Brandt at this moment in time? Is he going to be able to come out ahead? Let's not forget Simon Povey and Lewis Ward should have shorter stops than the former race leader.
Right, Callum's just come around the final corner now. Rob Sharp is going to be the first car to cross the line. And then you've actually got Stuart Clark as well. Callum Brandt is next. There he is, going around the final corner, or across the line. There's Simon Povey coming out of the pits. This is going to be mighty close, Callum flings it round turn 1. Track limits, what track limits? I think he's going to have the run on Simon, potentially get it done into turn 2. They're literally side by side into the braking zone, and Simon Povey is down the inside for the race lead. Is he going to be able to get it turned in, though, on the cold tyres? And, well, I don't think he took the tyres, and Callum round the outside, slides the back end out. Callum Brandt leads this race at Hockenheim. Lewis Ward is 1.9 seconds back. Rob Sharp actually leads the race, technically, but Callum Brandt is going to lead it outright because there's only 5 seconds ahead to them. Now Simon Povey's going to push. He's thinking, right, stuff your fuel saving, stuff your tyre saving. I'm going to go for this now. and we're going to have a good old scrap. These two were absolutely epic to watch at Spa-Francorchamps last time out, and I really hope we get a repeat of that. You could tell Callum's eager to get that car out of the corner though, and he's really pushing it on the throttle. Let's go again, boys.
And Rob Sharp leads a lap, let's not forget that. But look at this battle side by side now. Simon Povey with the inside that will soon turn to be the outside.
Whoa.
And he gives up the fight now in towards the infield of the more technical second and third sectors here at Hockenheim. But Lewis Ward is going to be really relishing this. He knows that if these two squabble, he's going to be in the picture as well for not just the podium but also the race victory. And this is going to be key for him and his championship to finish ahead of both of these drivers.
Well, right now as well, the important thing I think for Callum is to try and back Simon up into Lewis and see whether they start battling, because he will not be able to withstand, well, you never know, he'll do his damn best, I can tell you, to withstand any pressure from Simon. But we all know that with the slipstream involved here at Hockenheim, it's very difficult to defend over the course of a full lap. We are over 50 minutes into this race, and the leaders are separated by 1.1 seconds. The top three absolutely all together. If that doesn't tell you that this is a fantastic championship, then I don't know what else will. The commentator's certainly not that great. But honestly, it's just been such a joy since we started doing this championship, Ed, when you were racing in it last season, to now being up here in the commentary box, to get to see how much goes on around you drivers. You know, it's just, I know I'm biased, obviously, but I just love it. It's so entertaining every time.
Beautiful stuff. Honestly, it's amazing racing. And now Callum Brandt, if he can keep getting in those good second and third sectors and try and build up a gap and a margin to Simon Povey, there's not a lot that these McLarens can do. Look at Lewis Ward now. He's going to be gaining slowly but surely onto the rear end of Simon Povey. With me, Callum, he's got a few more laps to go. He needs to withstand a lot of pressure, and this is where we might see his inexperience of winning races in this championship come to work against him. Simon Povey knows exactly what it takes to win a race and how to put the pressure on and how to race for those top positions. Callum Brandt yet to win a race here in the SRM GT4 Challenge, but he has been fastest all evening long. Fastest in qualifying, fastest in practice. Led most of the laps of this race as well, but all it counts for is at the end, and Simon Povey knows how to get it done, as does Lewis Ward. But if there's a time for Callum to do it, it has to be now for his championship.
Unfortunately, Ryan Penny's had a spin after contact with Mark Johnson. That means now that he's not the biggest mover in the field. It's actually Heinz Mayer from car 222 from position 22 up into 14th place. 8 positions gained for him so far. We've got a battle in the midfield, which is Paul Goffin ahead of Matthias Tem. Both of them just swapping round in terms of where they started this race. Dan McCauley's back in the pits. No. Has he had some sort of speeding penalty or something go on? No, he's going to stop the car. Unless it is a stop and go rather than just a drive-through. Well, what's he going to do here? He's taking fuel on board. I don't think he's had enough fuel, you know. Or is it going to... No, this is going to be a long one by the look of it. Oh,
like a stop and go.
Yeah. Now, sometimes you do have to stop for like...
15 seconds.
Yeah, 16.1 seconds he was stationary for, and back out he goes. It's all falling apart for Dan McCauley, I'm afraid. I was just going to mention before that this top three, when you measure the gap back from Lewis to Dan, it was 17 seconds. And it was mentioned in the chat earlier, actually, by James Holman. Thanks for the messages in chat, by the way, guys. Great to have you all with us. James mentioned it really shows how the pace has ramped up, though. Look at how the top three have really started to gap the rest of the field. And it's actually, he's also pointed out, Rob Sutherland having a great fight back, because he had a spin in the first lap, didn't he? Drop right to the back of the field. He's now inside the points in 15th place.
Wow. That is a huge fight back up through the field, to be fair. Great to see so many excellent drives. Noticed not just by us in the comments box, but also everyone watching along at home. Great that everyone gets involved and picks out some of their favourite drivers. See the battles come through. Now let's have a look at someone that's had a really great evening so far tonight. Paul Goffin, currently up in 6th place. This is a really strong race from the 164 Mercedes. Simon Povey just sets his personal best lap of the race, and I think actually maybe what his fastest lap of the race. It's very similar to the time set by Callum Brandt a little while earlier.
Oh, now this is going to help him. Slipstream from a BMW, the fastest car down there. Well, Callum's going to love that, because it's not like that Mercedes was fast enough anyway. He gives Stuart Clark a flash of the lights, and he's got a gap of about 0.6 of a second over Simon Povey. He really wants Stuart to get out of the way here before the braking zone, because otherwise he's going to get held up. Stuart does the good thing and goes straight on, but I feel like just in the braking zone alone he may have held up Callum a little bit there. Not that it was anything too naughty or anything, but it's just that tiny little difference. Go back to Matthias Tem and Paul Goffin, because this could certainly get spicy between these pair. These are fighting for 6th position. Rob Sharp is pretty much on his own right now in 5th. He is currently 17 seconds ahead of this, just coming into the hairpin. But ahead of him, very under the radar, Christopher Smith started 6th in this race. He's gone forward in the BMW. He said that he might get a podium, Ed. If anything happens in front in these last few laps, he very may well do.
Yeah, exactly, and what a podium it will be. Nothing less than he deserves, of course, putting away some excellent laps, and
oh god,
I think he is basically bridging the gap, isn't he, between those front three that are in a world of their own in terms of pace, and I think the rest of the field, it's sadly been almost a lonely race for Christopher Smith. He pulled off a brilliant strategy to get himself into that position to gain enough. Let's not forget as well, for a period of time he was racing with the likes of Simon Povey and Lewis Ward for the podium, so he's certainly got a lot of pace in the bank. But I think it's just slightly fallen away from him at the end, but that's not going to be putting a dampener on his spirits and his mood from a 4th place finish. Excellent result for him and RD Simsport, who currently occupy 2 of the top 4 positions. Huge toil of points coming their way. Let's have a look for Apex Race Academy. They're down in 3rd and 8th. That is going to be a big swing in the favour of RD Simsport. It
really is. It's going to be a big old swing in the championship. It's going to fly one way then the other. I was just looking at Gary Toll for a moment there, because the Spontex CDM Esports car is now back up with Fausto Pinto, and these two had a coming together at Daytona last season, which was a very big one, and Gary was very unimpressed, as you can imagine. But at the start of this race there was also a coming together between the two as well. Fausto just missed his braking point slightly and then hit the inside of Gary's car, and Gary was turned around and he's had to recover and fight back from there. He started 11th in this race, and if he gets ahead of Fausto, who's actually started 12th in this race, then they'd be even again, I'd say, because he'd actually get his place back. So I'm going to be intrigued to see how quickly Gary can catch up. The Mercedes is going well though. Gap at the front, where this Mercedes is going very well, is just over half a second at the moment, but a purple Sector 2 from Simon Povey really shows that he means business in these closing stages. 2 minutes and 46 seconds to go, as I started saying that anyway. And I would say now, Ed, what, 2 more laps to go? We'll get 1 more after this one that they're just about to start.
Yep, this is going to be really key. And we can see Matthias. And he slightly misjudges it. You can see, though, he is waiting, allowing Paul Goffin to get up to running. And, I mean, Matthias, he's a great lad. He's nothing if not sportsman-like. He's been really, really good to watch in terms of racing. He's always fair. And that's, I think, another display. He slightly oversteps the boundaries. We saw it earlier into the braking zone for the hairpin at the furthest end of the lap, where he basically sacrificed himself, dove onto the grass and span around to not hit those in front of him. And if he does hit them, slows down to, dead standstill, and allows Paul Goffin to get back underway, because he knows he has pace, Matthias. He wants to make the move done cleanly, though. He doesn't want there to be any contact, anything dirty about it. So excellent stuff from Matthias. And to be fair, actually, Chaz, thinking about it, he's obviously had a bit of rotten luck, but I think he's actually found himself in a perfect position now, because all of that dramas that happened coming into what we call the stadium section happened in front of him. If he was, right at the tail of him, he could have got caught up in that. So maybe being those 4 seconds back really helped him out.
Yeah, potentially did. Yeah, that's the thing. You've got to think about the bigger picture. Oh, that looked like definite contact then as he went down the inside of Goffin. Had to back out of it, and Dan McCauley says, thank you very much, mate. I'll take that one, but you can bet that Matthias is going to come back at him now as they go down the Parabolica towards the hairpin. A minute left on the clock, and it's still about half a tenth between the top two. Not the half tenth, sorry, half a second between the top two. We'll keep our eye on this for a moment, because this could get very spicy into the twisty sections near the end of the lap. Oh, Matthias tries to go as late as he dares on the brakes, carry the speed around the outside. But it's 2 McLarens versus an Aston Martin at the moment. Round the final corners, though, come Callum Brandt and Simon Povey. They've now
Simon's really close.
He has, yeah. He's got 2.5 seconds over Lewis Ward as well, so he's not got a massive amount to lose here if he does start having a go. So on to the final lap then, in round 6 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge's second season here at Hockenheim. Chaz, Draycott and Ed May in the commentary box for what is probably going to be another belter of a lap. We have Callum Brandt leading the way. He's not won a race yet this season. He's followed by Simon Povey, reigning champion, 4 podiums this season, 100 points, 3 race wins. The most winningest, yes, that's a word, driver in the series so far this season. Is he going to get this done, Ed? What do you reckon? Who's your money on?
I know this is the closest he's been for a long time coming through the parabolic, or he might not make the move in towards the hairpin. He's going to force defence from Callum Brandt. He needs to be as late as he dares, and he is incredibly late all the way around the outside. Can he get the power down onto the exit? Tries as he might, he just can't get it settled. And all of a sudden now, Callum's in a brilliant position. Nearly half a second clear as he comes into the circuit where that Mercedes comes alive. It's the fastest through here out of anybody in that car throughout this entire race long has been going the way of Callum Brandt. And you know what? He might just seal this down. We've had so many excellent drivers win races here in the SRM GT4 Challenge. Mark Baxter-Jones, Simon Povey, myself. I wouldn't count myself as brilliant. We've had then Lewis Ward, and now we're going to have, if these next few corners go to plan, Callum Brandt add his name to the list of drivers that have won a round of the SRM GT4 Challenge.
Here he comes then, only a couple more corners to go. He's kept it nice and tidy. He's held his nerve up to this point. He's just got to get it through one more corner and put your hands together, because finally, he really deserves that one. Callum Brandt wins in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Simon Povey just over half a second behind, and Lewis Ward completes the podium. What a fantastic drive that was by Callum for RD Simsport. Boy, I do mean it when I say he deserved that. He has worked so hard, and I'm sure you can hear it. I've got a massive smile on my face for him. RD Simsport get 2 cars in the top 4. Great for the team's championship. Well done, Christopher Smith. And what a good drive that is once again by Rob Sharp. He comes across the line in 5th place. And the battle between Dan McCauley and Matthias Tem and Paul Goffin has all changed around here. Dan McCauley's got past the pair of them, and he's going to recover a position back and get into 6th place by the look of it, Ed. Great stuff. Yeah,
excellent. Sort of stems the tide a little bit. Make sure it's not a gaping wound that Apex Race Academy suffer in terms of the points lost, and it's maybe a slight cut, maybe a little bit of a scrape. But I tell you what, great stuff from Dan to fight back, get himself up the order. That extra pit stop really cost him, but didn't cost him too much. He was able to get those positions back. Fausto Pinto going to give it the beans out of the final corner, but not enough to overtake Gary Tall. And that is 11th and 12th over the line. But what a drive from Callum. He's really deserved this. He's been an excellent driver from the first round. One that we really did see great things after his first race of the season. A newcomer getting 2nd place is no mean feat. And from then he's just been looking like a matter of when, not if, he was going to win the race. He does it at a pivotal moment in the championship, while his main rival finishes a couple places back. This could see him in a really good position, as now the final half of the season is well underway. You can see there Christopher Smith slowing down to give his congratulations to the new time race winner. Same as well with Rob Sharp, but that is something very special that I think we've just seen. And he said at Spa, what rounds are we going to look back on and think are the pivotal ones of this championship? Do you know what? I think here tonight it is going to be a real round to look back on. And here we go. Look at the 2 cars there. Photo opportunities. The 2 teammates. They've done a huge effort here tonight, and that's going to be mega for them. 1st and 4th. Excellent stuff.
Yeah, really, really solid that was as well, and that's going to help him out massively in the championship, because let's not forget, while he did finish in 1st place with his teammate, with his main rival Lewis Ward finishing in 3rd, not only does he gain the 5 points on him for those differences in positions, but he also gains another point on him because of the fact that he scored that extra point for getting pole position. So Callum Brandt has done everything that he could possibly do tonight with a maximum score of 26 points. That has been done 3 times already this season, actually. Twice by Simon Povey and once by Lewis Ward as well. But as I mentioned at the start of the broadcast, Callum Brandt has finished 2nd, 3rd, 5th, second. And now he finally gets a win. They're going to try and organise the picture, or are they going to give him a push? Is he out of fuel? Are they going to all push him?
If he's out of fuel, they want to push him over. They want to push him to the line to get their photos. Maybe.
Yeah. Great effort.
He's got the handbrake on. He doesn't want any part of this.
Oh, no, this is a burnout attempt, I'm pretty sure. They want to smoke. That looks fantastic, boys. Absolutely fantastic. Well, what an amazing race it was, Ed. Absolutely classic entertainment once again. And it's just about time that we look at the race results. I want to edit more tracks with this blimp cam. I quite like it. Callum Brandt wins the race, but once again showing us just how good this championship is. Less than half a second between the top two. Sorry, just over half a second between the top two. Lewis Ward eventually finishes 3.2 seconds back, with Christopher Smith in 4th place for RD Simsport. Rob Sharp finishes 5th for Orris Sapphire Simsport, with Apex Racing Academy's Dan McCauley in 6th. Matthias Thames 7th, ahead of Paul Goffin in 8th. Ben Gregory eventually finishes 9th, just ahead of John Roberts, and considering that those two were involved... Actually, no, to be fair, Ben had that spin, got smacked into by Stuart Clark. John was one of the cars that avoided Ben, and Ben finished ahead of him. What a drive by Ben, flipping heck.
Wow,
Gary,
mega.
how does he done that? Because there was only like 20 minutes
missed
left.
that.
That's mental. Gary Tall finishes 11th ahead of Fausto Pinto. Mark Johnson finishes 13th. Rob Sutherland recovers back to 14th. Well done to him. Actually, yeah, finishes where he started even after the spin. Heinz Mayer finishes 15th ahead of Philip Hopley. Tom Weston and Paul Gosling also scoring points as well, with Ryan Penny and Ralph Mayer rounding out your 20. Ralph Mayer 1 lap down. Stuart Clark a lap down as well, so too was Kim Such. Andrew Malson and Peter Brill 2 laps down as well, and then the non-finishers from the race, Jacob Money and Drew Fletcher. Unfortunately, Mike Horder did not take to the start. Well, that was excellent, absolutely excellent entertainment once again, Ed. We are never, ever disappointed here. And, well, I mean, Simon Povey, he says, congrats, Callum Brandt, great drive and pace. And to be honest, I'm not surprised, and I'm very, very pleased that we can speak to the man himself right now, Callum Brandt, in the chat. Callum, you must be so happy after that, mate. You've worked so hard to get to this point in the championship, and going into the second half, you finally get that win. You must be over the moon.
Yeah, really happy. Obviously come close a few times with Lewis and Simon last week, so yeah, really happy to finally get stop the monkey off her back and get a win on the board and close up to lose a bit more in the championship, which is great.
Now, what was that first stint like for you? Because obviously you were sat right up behind Lewis the whole time. I'm sure there was some temptation at some point, wasn't there, to just go for a dive, go for a move?
No, well, my first thing was to try and clear off and build a gap, and then I drove rubbish and made a mistake. And let Lewis pass, so that was great. And then I thought I'll just try and sit behind and save fuel and short fuel the first stop, try and get some clear air and build a gap for the final stint, which still didn't work because I came out side by side with Simon at the end of the second stop. So yeah, it was just try to play a strategy game really. Once I realised that Mercedes doesn't have any top speed against those McLarens, it's just really hard to pass them. So yeah, just try to play a long game.
Well, it certainly worked out, mate, and boy, was it entertaining for us up here as well. Yet again, another sort of final lap or so battle with Simon Povey. What were your thoughts going into that one after last week?
Just keep the gap as big as I could, because I know if he can get sort of in 410s, those McLarens are just ridiculously quick, and he'll have a chance to get me down the sort of first long straight. So trying to keep that gap around 0.5, 0.6 to a point where hopefully Simon couldn't get close enough to give an opportunity to pass me was just all I was thinking about, and trying to run as quickly as can.
Well, it was another epic race, Callum, and honestly, we were both, we still are, we're so both, I can't even get my words out, but we're that happy for you for getting that win, because you've finished second 3 times this season, a 3rd place as well. It's been a long time coming, and it's only been 5 rounds before now, but honestly, we are so pleased for you, mate, and it was very well deserved. Next time round, of course, we have another big challenge on the horizon as we head to the Red Bull Ring, so that's going to be Slipstream Central. Is it a circuit you enjoy?
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's one of those where I'm probably going to have to practice a little bit, brush up, but probably another chat with McLarens are going to be really quick on, so that'll be fun again, and maybe it'll be another sort of fuel-saving job to try and give myself a chance of a win, because passing those McLarens are just really hard. but yeah, looking forward to it.
We are too, mate. And before we let you go, Callum, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to on the eve of your first victory in the championship?
Yeah, no, to shout out to you guys. You do a great job with the broadcast. I always enjoy watching that back every week.
Thank you, mate.
Just a shout to Rob and Chris. Chris did really well P4, and yeah, really happy for the team results that sort of came this week. So shout out to all the guys at RD.
Beautiful stuff. Well, always a pleasure, Callum. Thank you very much, mate, for jumping in. Well done on the win, and go and enjoy the rest of your evening, mate. Have a beer on us.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Well, there you go, Callum Brandt. Very composed for someone that's won his first race in the championship, but, you know, Callum's a very quick guy. You know, I'm sure he's won races before. You know, he's not got to the I rating that he's got without winning races. He's obviously a very, very talented lad, but he just managed the whole thing very well, didn't he, Ed? That's what it was all about tonight.
He managed the race brilliantly. It's fair to say he was the fastest driver, like we said, on the circuit, but he made it work on the strategy as well. After that first stop where he came out 6 seconds ahead, that was brilliant. But yeah, like we say, we've got now driver into the chat, Chaz. I've seen you dragged in Rob Sharp, who had, certainly a exciting race and a brilliant one as well to see himself finish in 5th place. Great points for you and your teammate, of course, but what on earth happened there in the race for you? Because we saw you squabbling away with so many other cars.
Yeah, I know. It was very close, wasn't it? You know, but especially between myself and Ben, we had a great scrap for most of the race, I think. And then I think something happened to him. Did he get punted, I think, on when he came back out of the pits, which kind of, and I think Matthias was behind me and he spun or had an incident, which kind of left me on my own. So I was like, oh, thank God for that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's a bit of a balance, isn't there, in races like this, where you love it when you're surrounded by other great drivers and you can have a really good scrap and, you know, just proper do it for the love of it. You know, it's why we do this racing. You know, it's just great to have a fantastic scrap with somebody, but sometimes you just need that break when you get so far through a race and you think, will someone just leave me alone? I just want to get to the end. And I mean, as you said yourself, you know, you couldn't fit a cigarette paper between you and Ben because the pace was matched so well between the two cars today, and obviously you two as drivers. It just seemed like it was always going one way then the other. It must have been great behind the wheel.
It was fantastic, and then of course we caught Dan as well. So he looked like he was in tire trouble. I managed to get past him, but he got straight past me again. But then I think he had a penalty for speeding in the pits. So another competitor suitably removed to my advantage, which was, I mean, you know, you've got to take the good fortune when it comes, and so you know, just trying to keep it on the track, and today it worked. So I'm really pleased at that. You know, it was cool.
Absolutely.
I like this track. It's a great track. Somehow I kind of gel with Hockenheim. I just like it. So yeah, it's a good result for me.
Well, definitely. I mean, another solid top 5, some great points for the championship, and I get what you mean about Hockenheim. It's not a circuit that I ever think, you know, it never pops straight into my head when someone asks me about a good circuit or a circuit that I enjoy. But, you know, if I'm driving it, I don't really like it that much. But every single time I've commentated at Hockenheim, in every series I've ever done here, whether it be iRacing or even real world racing as well, it's always been a good race. It's just a fantastic circuit for racing. Yes, it's a shame it's not screaming through the forests flat out forever like we used to be in the old days, but you know, it's still a great circuit, and it's nice to see that there are drivers actually out there that enjoy it and get on with it, because most of them say that they don't like it, but still.
No, it works for me. I just feel quite comfortable. I don't know why, but it's just one of those circuits. And it's my birthday today, so it's a nice little birthday present to round off today.
Oh, well,
very pleased.
Happy birthday, Rob. Happy birthday indeed, mate. You don't sound a day over 21. But
again.
Well, many happy returns, Rob. We'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening, but before you do that, is there anyone you'd like to just give a quick thanks to?
Well, yourselves, obviously, yourself and Andy and the team and Ed. I mean, you're just for putting on this series. It's absolutely fantastic. And just a quick shout out to my wife Jill and Duncan and Cameron, my children, and my brothers Russell and Stuart, who I hope were watching this evening. That's it. Okay, thanks very much for talking to me, guys.
No worries, Rob. Go and enjoy your birthday, Rob. See you
Thank
soon,
you.
mate. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Well, there we go. Rob Sharp, a race on his birthday and a top 5. You can't get much better than that. Now, we move very quickly on, though, Ed, to Dan McCauley, who, admittedly, in Discord, has just described himself as not the safest driver for the award, but the stupidest driver. Why would that be, Dan?
First, I forgot to charge my headset, so chasing Simon, it died and nearly killed myself because I couldn't hear the car.
Oh.
Then I forgot to open caps, so me being fuel saving, don't know how much I'm saving because I can't see the fuel. And then I pulled my downshift paddle instead of the pit limiter paddle on the second stop and got myself a drive through.
So there was multiple elements that we couldn't see that all lined up tonight, really, and that's the thing. We always say this about sim racing broadcasting, that sometimes in real world broadcasting, if there's something going on behind the scenes or behind the wheel or in the car, you can usually tell, but from the outside in sim racing we had no clue. But to have all that still stack up against you and get a 6th place finish, it's not the worst result, is it?
Nah, it's just a bit frustrating. The RD Simsport guys obviously got a massive jump on us. Well done to Chris and Callum because they kind of nailed it today. I don't think it's over yet. I'm pretty sure we'll come back really strong at the next round. And now Lewis has figured out what to do with the strategy. I think we should definitely be in contention a little bit more towards the end of the season.
Well, we're certainly excited to see that. Ed and I were talking, weren't we, Ed, halfway through the race about this great prospect that there's not just one dominant team in the championship. You've both got a great lineup of drivers, both great consistency, and it's just nice to see that fight, isn't it, Ed, between two great teams like this?
Absolutely. I've got to say, it's going to be really exciting to see what will happen. Do you have any regrets maybe about switching over to the McLaren? Because it seems that in the latter stages of the race, the car, I don't know, goes away from you, or is it just about trying to adapt to it and hoping that you might find a bit more pace in the final 4 rounds?
I think this round wasn't really much of a representative of the falling away at the latter stage of the race, because my second stint was a mess with all sorts of stuff going on in the background. But I feel like at the end, changing that front tyre, the car was insane at the end. I was kind of matching Simon and Callum for pace in the last 5 laps, so I think the pace is there. It's just been a big jump. Especially with driving the Porsche Cup car for the last 2 weeks has definitely made the McLaren feel a little bit alien this week. But there's no regrets about swapping to it. The car is by far the best car on the grid this season. It's you guys probably seen it at the start. It's when you're in the train, you can get away with backing it up to save the extra fuel, and then because of the amount of low down torque it's got, you just drive away out the corner again, so there's no threat into the next one. I think if had I been in the Aston Martin there, that first stint would have been a lot different. I think Chris would have been in it a lot more, because the McLaren's just got such a better drive out the corner than what the Aston did. You can sort of really manhandle it a bit more, but then where I'm manhandling it too much, sometimes it hurts the tyre. It's a balance that I'm still trying to find, but I think we're slowly getting there. Hopefully we get more tracks that sort of left front dominant, so swapping that tyre makes the car feel normal again at the end of the race.
Well, you talk about that. We are going to the Red Bull Ring in a week's time, so maybe you'll find yourself in a bit of better fortune there. And like you say, that left front could be very important, especially through those final few corners.
I think if I remember to turn on the fuel calculator, the fuel saving there is going to make the biggest difference. I seem to be quite good at qualifying in 4th and getting the toe off the fast 3 guys, so I'll see how far into eco mode I can go and maybe get an even lower refuel than I did this week, because Simon really saved me in the first stint, just giving me draft the whole time. It's brilliant.
Well, while you contemplate eco mode, Dan, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Big shout out to Callum for winning the race. That was pretty good to see yet another winner, and he just made the most out of the mech the week. It was amazing. And yeah, big shout out to Lewis. Thanks again for practice. It was really helpful. And then thanks to you guys again. Oh, and shout out to Rob for it being his birthday.
Cracking stuff, Dan. Well, always a pleasure. Thanks for the interview, mate. And, well, better luck next time at Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, see you in a bit. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Well, there we go, Ed. And once again, just highlighting the fact that when we speak to these drivers, they've had a tough evening. They've done a lot of hard work to do these races, but they always come in here, they have a lovely chat with us. They're very neutral about things, and they look at the light side of all of these situations, again, highlighting the sort of friendly and positive atmosphere we've got here in the SRM GT4 Challenge.
Absolutely. It's so such a great league. Everyone's all together. Everyone immediately just went over to congratulate Callum after his amazing race here tonight. And you know what? I'm so glad that this SRM GT4 community has been so strong, so friendly, and welcoming to even the newcomers. Like you say, Callum, who's not been around for too long, but everyone treats them like part of the furniture. And I mean, it's a really, really good sight to see. Hopefully we'll get more sights in excellent racing, though, in a week's time, because like I mentioned, Red Bull Ring, that is going to be a real corker. I think the first time we've been there in the SRM GT4 Challenge, and I'll tell you what, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's one of 2 circuits that make their debut on the calendar this season, because after that we go to the Hockenheimring as well, which is going to be a lot of fun. So we have them 2 circuits swapped in for places like Zolder, which we're going to forget about for this season. And I'm trying to remember which other circuit got the cut from the list as well, to be honest with you.
Imola.
It was Imola. Yes, poor Imola, but we've kept Monza because the slipstream in there is a hell of a lot of fun. Tonight was a hell of a lot of fun, though, and thank you all for watching. It's been another joyous broadcast, another amazing race, and another race winner in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Callum Brandt takes the win for RD Simsport, who open up their championship lead in the teams. I've been Chaz Draycott with the wonderful Ed May here on Chaz Draycott Media for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. We'll see you in a week's time at the Red Bull Ring, everyone, but for now, enjoy the rest of your evening. See you soon.
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Warning: the following video contains flashing imagery that may cause discomfort and or seizures for those with photosensitive epilepsy. Viewer discretion is advised.
Tell me somebody how long he will be on my mind. You will be on my mind.